I asked the question to the Premier. Can the Premier update my community as for any future discussions on the future of the negotiations with Nyrstar report, Pirie?
Premier.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank the member for Stewart for his question, particularly given I know how interested the member for Stewart is in the project more broadly. There is not much to update beyond what I've said publicly in recent days. Put simply, we are now in a position with Trafigura or Nyrstar that we are getting close to hopefully finalising negotiations in a way that suits all parties. There has been a robust negotiation here, that's the truth of it. The state has its interests, as does Tasmania and the Commonwealth and Nyrstar. And those interests vary, particularly around who should pay how much. But what's, I think, driving the success of the negotiations thus far is a shared ambition as to what we want the smelter to look like in the long term. I can advise that the antimony pilot, as I've sort of foreshadowed previously, the antimony pilot has gone well, and that actually gives us a fair bit of optimism for the long-term future of the smelter. But there is a cost issue here, and that cost issue has principally been driven through smelting charges or treatment charges being suppressed through overseas actors. So we're talking about money. I mean, to be plain about it, we have to make a decision as a nation. Do we want to retain our smelting capacity? Now, from South Australia's perspective, of course we do, because there's the capital that's invested in Port Pirie, but more importantly, the people that are employed in the member for Stewart's electorate. Like, that is an immediate economic concern. But that within of itself should be a secondary concern, which is a big thing to say, I know, but that should be a secondary concern as to what do we want as a nation, and do we want to have China doing all of our smelting for us? Now, if the answer is yes, that's fine, but we've got to be very, well, in my view, it's not fine, but people need to appreciate that if the answer to that question was yes, they're essentially saying we're going to get our critical minerals and metals from elsewhere, our capacity to produce things like antimony, which is critical to our nation's defence, that can happen elsewhere. Products such as sulfuric acid, which is critical for other industries in the state, including the copper opportunity we're focused on in the north of South Australia, that would be reliant upon elsewhere. And the lesson that we have learned in the last few months out of Iran is having sovereignty over critical industrial functions is important to our economy, but also to our national security endeavour. I think we all accept now that having 30 days of fuel reserves is not okay, right? Because if something goes wrong, we're exceptionally vulnerable. The same is true for our smelting capabilities. If we can't smelt for ourselves, there are critical products to other essential industries around the state that would be lost to us. That's why it should be maintained, and that's why the South Australian government is willing to stand up to the plate, as is the federal government thus far and the Liberal government in Tasmania. So we have now, in the negotiations, I'm happy to advise that we have put a revised position on behalf of the three governments combined, because I think it would be an unfortunate set of circumstances if every state and every government acted differently. We've got to act together. This is not about politics. The Liberal government in Tasmania has been outstanding, and I thank Jeremy Rockcliffe for his partnership. We just want to work together, and then we've put an offer to Nyrstar accordingly, and it's now for them to consider, and I'm actually relatively optimistic about it. But we haven't got a done deal yet, and like all these things, and particularly when you're talking about big corporate Goliaths, Trafigura being the largest trading company anywhere in the world, to give some context to people, they have more oil tankers than any other company in the world. It's a robust negotiation. We would like it to conclude soon, and as soon as it does, we'll be letting the member for Stewart, but more importantly, the people of the Upper Spencer Gulf know.
Member for Torrens for her